The new girl in the hallway. The school bell rang, sharp and final, slicing through the chatter of students as they shuffled through the wide halls of Stonebridge High. It was the first day of the new semester. Kids rushed to find their classes, meet their friends, and complain about homework before it even started. Nobody noticed the girl standing quietly by locker 214. She wasn't short, but she wasn't tall either. Her dark hair fell over her shoulders, simple and unstyled. Her clothes were plain, faded jeans, a soft gray sweater, and sneakers that had seen better days. She didn't speak. She didn't smile. She just stood there with a small notebook, clutched to her chest like a shield. Her name was Maya. The whispers started before the first class even began. Who's the new girl? No idea. She's weird. Didn't even say hi to the teacher. Bet she's homeschooled or something. But nobody knew the truth. Nobody knew who Maya really was. Not yet. It didn't take long for the first wave of trouble to hit. Maya sat in the back of her English class, head down, eyes on her notebook. The teacher, Mr. Brooks, was kind enough. He introduced her, then continued with the lesson on poetry and emotion. But the real test was the students. Madison, the self-proclaimed Queen of Stonebridge, leaned across the aisle. She always wore the latest trends, had the most followers on social media, and believed her words carried more weight than anyone else's. "You lost?" she whispered loud enough for others to hear. Maya didn't answer. "What? You can't talk? Maybe you're just too good for us," Madison sneered, then laughed along with her two sidekicks, Lily and Kara. Maya just looked down. That silence, Maya's silence, bothered Madison more than any insult could have. And from that moment, Madison made it her mission to break the new girl. Lunch was no better. Maya sat alone at a corner table, slowly peeling the skin off an apple. The cafeteria was loud and chaotic, but she didn't flinch. She kept to herself. Across the room, Madison was already planning her next move. "I say we find out where she's from," Madison told her friends. "People like that usually have something to hide. Or maybe she's just boring." Kara shrugged. "No, look at her. She's pretending to be invisible. That's not boring. That's suspicious." They laughed, but they didn't know how close they were to a truth none of them could guess. Later that evening, Maya sat in her room, bare walls, soft lighting, a single framed photo by the window. It was of her and her father at a small coffee shop. He wore a beanie and a hoodie, trying to keep low-key. She was smiling up at him, her arms around his shoulders. The man in the picture was Keanu Reeves. Not many people knew he had a daughter. He had kept her away from the media, away from the noise, away from the cameras that had followed him for years. He wanted her to have a normal life, or at least as normal as possible. But Maya wasn't in hiding because of fame. She was here because of what had happened 2 years ago. A car crash, a hospital, the sound of machines, and then silence. Her mother had passed. Since then, Maya had changed schools 3 times. Not because of behavior, but because she couldn't stand the eyes, the whispers, the people who pretended to care but only wanted gossip. This time, she begged her father to let her try Stonebridge. No special favors, no cars, no assistance. Just her books, and the hope to finally disappear into a crowd. He had hesitated, but finally he agreed. "If anyone gives you trouble, you tell me," he had said, placing a hand on her shoulder. "I can handle it," she replied, quietly but firmly. By the 3rd day, the bullying wasn't subtle anymore. It started with comments in the hallway, then rumors. "I heard she's a runaway. Maybe she's been to juvie. Nah, her parents probably abandoned her. That's why she's so quiet." Maya ignored it all, or at least tried to. But when Madison tripped her in front of the entire science class, causing her notebook to fly open and scatter pages across the floor, she just stood up slowly, gathered her notes, and walked away. Not a single word. The teacher said nothing. The class laughed. And somewhere in that laughter, Maya felt something break a little inside her. That night, Keanu waited by the window, a cup of tea in his hands. When Maya came home, He noticed her silence was heavier than usual. "Tough day?" he asked. She shrugged. "Same as always." He didn't press. He knew that when she was ready, she would talk. He had learned long ago that healing didn't come with pressure. It came with presence. He reached for his guitar and strummed a soft melody. She sat beside him, not speaking, but listening. And in that quiet moment, something unspoken passed between them. Something strong. Something real. The next morning, things took a sharper turn. Madison had found Maya's last name in the school records, Reeves, and in her twisted mind, that name sparked a thought. Reeves? Like Keanu Reeves? She laughed. As if. But curiosity took hold. She searched online. She dug through old forums, blurry photos, and eventually found a thread that mentioned a private daughter who lived under the radar. She brought it to school. "Guys, what if the quiet freak is actually his kid?" They laughed, but some looked twice now. That afternoon, while Maya was reading under a tree by the field, Madison stormed up with her phone. "Hey, Reeves," she called, tossing the name like poison. Maya looked up slowly. "You think you're better than us? Hiding behind your daddy's name?" Maya's eyes didn't flinch. "You know what? If you're really his daughter, prove it. Show us. Or admit you're just a liar playing games." Students began to gather, phones out. The circle grew. Maya stood, brushed the grass off her jeans, and looked straight at Madison. "I don't have to prove anything to you," she said quietly. Madison scoffed. "Because you can't." Maya walked away, but she didn't see the one boy who had been watching everything from a bench nearby. His name was Lucas. Quiet, observant. And unlike the rest, he wasn't amused. He was angry. Not at Maya, but at everyone else. Later that evening, Lucas did what nobody else had. He searched the photo databases. And he found it. A small, hidden article from 3 years ago. Keanu Reeves seen holding hands with a young girl outside a grief counseling center. Same girl. Same face. Maya. He stared at the screen. Then he made a decision. The next morning, everything would change. And not just for Maya, but for the entire school. Whispers louder than words. By the time the first bell rang the next morning, the rumor had already spread like wildfire. "Did you hear? Maya Reeves is Keanu Reeves' daughter." "No way. Madison said she was just faking it." But Lucas showed someone a picture last night. It looked real. Maya stepped into the hallway like she did every morning, calm, quiet, and hoping to get through the day unseen. But this morning, the silence around her felt heavier, thicker, like the calm before a storm. She knew something had changed. Eyes followed her. Not just the usual cruel stares. Now they were mixed with curiosity, doubt, even envy. In first period, Madison was already fired up. "She's lying," Madison hissed to her group. "It's just a coincidence. Keanu Reeves probably doesn't even know she exists." Lily tilted her head. "But what if it's true?" Madison rolled her eyes. "It's not." Meanwhile, Lucas sat 2 rows behind Maya in chemistry. He kept glancing at her, not out of fascination, but out of concern. He had seen how she carried herself. Always respectful, always silent, like she was holding back an entire world. Now he understood why. At lunch, he approached her table. Slowly, carefully. "Hey," he said. Maya looked up, guarded. "I'm Lucas. I'm in your English and chemistry class." She gave a small nod. "I just wanted to say, I'm sorry about what happened yesterday." She blinked. "You didn't do anything." "Yeah, and that's the problem. I should have said something." Maya didn't respond right away. Her eyes went back to her lunch, an orange, a sandwich, and a small sketch she was working on. Lucas took a breath. "Look, I know about your dad." Her hand froze above the sketch. "Don't worry," he added quickly. "I'm not going to tell anyone. Not that it's a secret anymore, but still. I just thought you should hear it from someone who doesn't care who your dad is. I care about who you are." For the first time, she looked him in the eye, and for a moment something softened inside her. But peace doesn't last long in places ruled by fear and envy. Madison wasn't about to be dethroned by someone who barely spoke and wore thrift store clothes. So she planned something, a setup. Kara had a friend who worked in the school's AV club. Together, they pulled security footage from 2 days ago when Maya had slipped and fallen after being tripped. They edited it, made it look like Maya had faked the fall, exaggerated the pain, and tried to gain sympathy. Madison posted it anonymously, with the caption, "Some people will do anything for attention even if it means pretending to be bullied." Fake Reeves, the video went viral in less than an hour. Maya saw it during her art class. Someone passed her phone to another, then to another, and laughter rippled through the room like a cruel wave. She didn't cry, but she did quietly excuse herself and didn't come back for the rest of the day. Lucas found her behind the auditorium later that afternoon, sitting on the concrete steps hugging her knees. "They're not laughing because it's true," he said gently. "They're laughing because they're scared of someone who doesn't need their approval." Maya didn't say anything. Not at first, then she whispered, "I didn't want to be known for who my dad is." "I know. I just wanted to be me." Lucas sat beside her. "You still are." Back home, Keanu was waiting again. He had canceled 2 interviews that day. He'd sensed something off in Maya's voice during her short message after school. "I'll be a little late, just walking home slowly today." When she walked in, he stood up. "Maya?" She placed her bag down and didn't look up. He waited. Then she suddenly asked, "How do you do it?" He tilted his head. "How do you stay kind when people are so mean?" He walked over and sat beside her. "Because kindness is never for them. It's for me. It's how I survive." Her voice cracked. "I'm trying, but it hurts." He nodded, pulling her gently into a side hug. "Then let it hurt. It means you still care. Don't let their cruelty take that away from you." The next day, something unexpected happened. Lucas had taken a stand. He posted the original footage, the one that showed Maya being clearly tripped, falling hard with her notebook flying. He captioned it, "Truth matters. So does dignity." Along with that, he posted a message. "I don't care who her dad is, but I care about truth. And the truth is, someone kind and quiet has been treated horribly by people who don't understand. Strength. And I won't be quiet anymore." Students began to share his post. Then someone commented, "Isn't this the same girl who gave her lunch to a janitor last week?" Another wrote, "She helped my little brother find his classroom on the first day." The tide was turning. Madison, furious, confronted Lucas in the hallway. "What do you think you're doing?" she snapped. Lucas didn't blink. "Telling the truth. Something you should try sometime. You'll regret this." He shrugged. "Maybe. But not as much as you'll regret bullying the wrong girl." Madison clenched her fists and walked away. But this time no one followed her. Even her friends seemed uncertain now. By the end of the day, Maya was back in the art room painting quietly. Students came and went, some nodding politely, some even saying hi. And for the first time in weeks, she didn't feel invisible. She felt seen. Not because of who her father was, but because someone had finally stood beside her. Someone who saw her. That evening, at home, she told Keanu everything. The video, the support. Keanu listened, then smiled gently. "You're stronger than you know," he said. "You're not just my daughter. You're Maya, and that's more than enough." She smiled back, and for the first time in months it reached her eyes. But just as things began to feel normal again, a letter arrived the next morning. It wasn't from school, it was from a tabloid. "To the parent or guardian of Maya Reeves. We request a statement confirming or denying the identity of your daughter in relation to Mr. Keanu Reeves." Keanu froze. So did Maya. The world outside had just found her, and everything was about to change. The spotlight they never asked for. The envelope sat untouched on the kitchen table. Maya stared at it, her breath held tightly in her chest. The air felt heavier than usual. Across from her, Keanu remained still, his eyes scanning the letter again. "They found me," she whispered. He didn't respond immediately. Instead, he folded the letter neatly, placed it face down, and looked at her gently. "No," he said. "They found us." Maya lowered her gaze. "What do we do?" Keanu took a deep breath. "We decide together." At school, the mood had shifted, again. The rumors had matured into theories. Articles were being passed from phone to phone, headlines that used words like secret daughter, private life revealed, and shocking family truth. Students who had never spoken to Maya before now looked at her with wide eyes and fake smiles. "Hi, Maya. I saw you paint in the art room. You're so talented. Hey, we should hang out sometime. I love your dad's movies." Maya stayed quiet, polite, careful, but inside, she felt like her life was no longer hers. Lucas walked with her between classes, not to protect her, not to pity her, just to be there. "Want to disappear for a bit?" he asked during lunch. She nodded. They walked past the noisy cafeteria, through the empty auditorium, and into the prop storage room behind the stage. It was quiet, dusty, and oddly comforting. "You okay?" he asked. "No," she admitted. "Want to talk?" "Not really." He nodded, accepting her silence without trying to fix it. She sat on an old couch. "Do you know what it feels like to be treated like a ghost one day and a celebrity the next? Like, people don't care who I am, just who I belong to." Lucas sat beside her, arms resting on his knees. "That's because most people chase noise," he said. "They don't know how to appreciate quiet." Maya glanced at him. "But you're not noise, Maya," he added. "You're music." Her eyes softened. That was cheesy. "Yeah," he smiled. But true. Back home, Keanu made a few calls, quiet calls, to lawyers, to publicists, to trusted friends. "We have two options," he later told Maya. "We can respond, go public, set boundaries, or we say nothing and wait for the storm to pass. Will it pass? Eventually. Storms always do. But they leave damage." Maya thought for a long time. Then she asked, "What would you do?" Keanu paused. "If it was only about me, I'd ignore it. But it's about you, so you get to choose." Maya looked out the window, watching a small bird perch on a branch then fly away. "I don't want to hide anymore," she finally said. "But I don't want to perform either. I just want peace." He smiled softly. "We'll find a way." The next morning, Keanu posted a simple statement on his rarely used social account. "My daughter Maya is kind, strong, and full of light. She deserves the same privacy and respect we all want for our families. I hope you honor that." He didn't mention her school. He didn't name her age. Just truth and love in a few quiet words. Maya saw it during homeroom. By lunch, the post had gone viral, and the school was on fire. Madison's face twisted in disbelief as she scrolled through her phone. "It's real? She's actually his daughter?" Lily nodded. "Yeah, and people are praising her for handling everything so gracefully." Madison slammed her locker shut. "This is ridiculous. What makes her so special?" Kara hesitated. "Maybe it's because she is special." "No, she's just good at playing the victim," Madison snapped. But for the first time, her words didn't carry the same power. People were listening to different voices now. Voices of truth, of kindness. In English class, Mr. Brooks surprised everyone. He handed out blank sheets of paper. "Today, I want you to write a letter," he said. "Not to me, not for a grade, just to someone in your life who's made a difference, or someone you wish you could understand better." The room fell silent. As students began to write, Maya hesitated. Then slowly, her pen touched paper. She wrote to her mom. "Dear Mom, I wish you could see me now. Not because I'm in the news or because of who my dad is, but because I finally found my voice. I stayed quiet for so long thinking it made me strong, but I've learned that speaking gently can be just as powerful. You always told me to be kind even when it's hard. It's hard every day. But I'm trying. I hope that's enough. She folded the paper and placed it inside her sketchbook. Lucas glanced over and gave her a small, warm smile. But peace was short-lived. Later that week, a group of reporters showed up near the school gates. Maya saw them. Through the classroom window, long lenses, flashing cameras, loud voices shouting questions. Maya, how does it feel to be Keanu Reeves' daughter? Has he been supporting you all along? Do you want to act like your dad? Her hands trembled. The principal called an emergency assembly promising to handle the situation firmly. But students were already buzzing. Lucas found her in the hallway and gently placed his jacket around her shoulders. Come on, he said. We're leaving. We can't. Yes, we can. Outside, Keanu was already waiting. He had seen the footage online. He didn't say a word when Maya ran to the car and buried her face in his chest. He just held her. For a long time. At home, they sat together on the floor, surrounded by old photo albums. Keanu opened one that had been locked away for years. Pictures of Maya as a toddler. Their dog that had passed. Family road trips before the fame got too loud. You know, he said, when you were 5, you told me you wanted to be invisible. Maya smiled faintly. Yeah, so I could sneak into candy shops. He chuckled. And now? Now I just want to be seen, not stared at, not gossiped about. Just seen. You are seen. Always have been. She leaned her head against his shoulder. For the first time in days, her heart felt still. The next morning, something unexpected happened. A message arrived from the school board. Not about Maya, not about the press, about Lucas. He had been called into the principal's office for sharing footage of the original bullying incident online. They were considering suspension. Maya's jaw dropped, but he told the truth. He defended me. That's what scares them, Keanu said quietly. Truth makes people uncomfortable. She clenched her fists. They can't silence him. Keanu met her gaze. Then what are you going to do? And for the first time, Maya didn't say, I don't know. She knew exactly what to do. When silence speaks louder, the room was quiet except for the ticking of the wall clock. Maya sat in the living room, a laptop open on her lap, fingers frozen above the keyboard. Her heart raced, not from fear, but from resolve. For the first time, in weeks, she wasn't reacting. She was acting. Lucas had stood up for her when nobody else did. And now he was being punished for it. She wouldn't let that happen. The next morning, students at Stonebridge High arrived to something unexpected. Handwritten, flyers had been taped around the hallways. Each one had the same message. When the truth is punished, the school becomes the bully. Protect kindness. Support Lucas. They were signed simply. The students stopped, read, whispered. And for the first time, many of them really thought about what was happening. In homeroom, Maya sat quietly, but her presence felt different now. Not shy, not weak, just unshaken. Madison, however, was fuming. She's turning this into a show. She snapped to her friends, like she's some hero now. But her words felt hollow. The hallway wasn't listening to her anymore. Lucas was called to the office at third period. He returned 30 minutes later, eyes wide, lips pressed into a tight line. Maya waited until class ended, then caught up to him near the stairs. Well, she asked. He let out a breath. They gave me 2 choices. Delete the video and write an apology, or face suspension. Her jaw clenched. You're not doing either. I thought about it, he admitted. But then I remembered something you said about not hiding anymore. Maya looked at him. So I told them no, he said. I'm not apologizing for telling the truth. Maya's eyes welled up, but she smiled. Word spread fast. By lunch, nearly the entire school had seen Lucas's post again. Students began to share their own stories. Moments when someone defended them, stood up for them, or showed kindness when others looked away. A movement started. Not loud, Not dramatic, but steady. A few students wore wristbands that said "Truth matters." Others drew small stars on their hands with black markers, the same stars Maya often doodled in her sketchbook. The school was changing, quietly, powerfully, and Madison was losing her grip. After school, Madison approached Maya in the courtyard. She looked tired, less confident, less cruel. "So, are you proud of yourself?" she asked. Maya tilted her head. "For what?" "For making me the villain." "You chose that role," Maya replied calmly. Madison scoffed. "You think you're better than me?" "No," Maya said. "I just think we're different." Madison crossed her arms. "Do you know what it's like? To feel like you're only important if people like you? To need their attention? Just to feel real?" Maya's expression didn't change, but her voice softened. "Yeah, I do know." Madison blinked. "But I stopped chasing that, because real isn't something you get from others. It's something you build inside." For a moment, Madison looked like she wanted to argue, but she didn't. She turned and walked away, and this time, no one followed her. The next day, Maya was asked to speak at a school assembly. The principal stood beside her at the podium, clearly uncomfortable. "As many of you know," he said, "there have been recent events that raised questions about truth, bullying, and personal responsibility. Maya has requested to speak today. We will allow it." Students murmured. Maya stepped forward, holding her sketchbook in her hands. She wasn't nervous. "Not anymore. I didn't ask to be the center of attention," she began. "I didn't want it. But when it found me, I realized I had a choice. I could hide, or I could speak." The room fell silent. "I didn't speak to hurt anyone. I spoke to protect someone who protected me. Lucas stood up when others didn't, and now he's being punished for it. Not because he lied, but because he told the truth." A few heads nodded. "This isn't about me being someone's daughter. It's about what kind of school we want this to be. Do we want fear and silence, or do we want courage and kindness?" Teacher in the front row lowered her gaze, visibly moved. "I'm not asking for fame," Maya added. "I'm asking for fairness, and I hope we can find it, together." When she finished, there was no applause, just quiet. And sometimes quiet meant people were really listening. By the end of the week, the school board reversed its decision. Lucas would not be suspended. No apology needed. The official reason given was a review of all context surrounding the incident, but everyone knew what really changed their minds. Maya had. At home, Keanu was making pancakes when Maya walked in. "How was the assembly?" he asked, flipping one over. She sat at the table. "I think I might have made a difference." He turned, eyes proud but gentle. "You always do, whether you see it or not." She smiled, then paused. "Dad? Yeah? Do you think people can really change?" He looked thoughtful. "I think people want to change. Sometimes they just need someone to show them how." "Even people like Madison?" Keanu nodded. "Especially people like Madison." That night, Maya received a message, anonymous. It read, "I'm sorry. For everything. You didn't deserve any of it. I'm trying to be better. Thanks for showing me how." No name. But she knew who it was. And she didn't need to reply. Some things are better left in silence. Yet just when things seemed to be settling down, a new email arrived in her inbox. It wasn't from school. It wasn't from reporters. It was from a movie studio. "Dear Maya Reeves, we are reaching out to you for a potential opportunity. We've heard about your story and we believe your voice deserves to be part of something bigger. Would you consider narrating a short animated film about resilience and kindness for young audiences?" She stared at the screen, heart pounding, and quietly she whispered, "They want me." The girl behind the voice Maya sat in her room, the email still glowing on her screen. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard, unsure if she should reply. "They want me to narrate," she whispered again, almost to herself. She wasn't an actress. She wasn't a performer. And yet, for the first time, someone wanted her voice. Not because she was Keanu Reeves's daughter, but because of what she had done, who she had become. Keanu peeked through the door with a curious smile. "You've been staring at that screen for 10 minutes. Maya turned. "They want me to do a voiceover for an animated short film. It's about a kid who gets bullied for being different." Keanu walked in and sat beside her. "Sounds familiar. I don't know if I should do it," she said. "Do you want to?" "I think I do, but I'm scared." He looked at her gently. "Scared is fine. Scared means you care." Maya took a breath, clicked reply, and typed 2 simple words. "I'm in." A week later, Maya stepped into a small recording studio in downtown Los Angeles. It was quiet, warm, and filled with soft lighting and welcoming smiles. The director, a kind woman named Lena, greeted her. "You don't need to perform," Lena said. "Just speak from the heart, like you did at your school." Maya nodded. The script was simple. It told the story of a little bird who couldn't fly like the others, who was mocked and pushed aside, until one day, the bird discovered it had something the others didn't, a voice that could calm storms. Maya read each line slowly, softly with care. Her voice shook at first, then it settled, and by the end there was silence in the booth, the kind of silence that meant something real had happened. A few days later, the studio posted a teaser of the animation online. It was only 1 minute long, but it featured Maya's voice. "Sometimes the world is loud and cruel, but kindness doesn't shout, it whispers, and in the end the whisper can move mountains." The video exploded. Within 48 hours, it had over 2 million views. Comments poured in. "Who is this voice? It feels like a hug. I've never cried from a cartoon bird before. This is beautiful. This must be that girl from the Keanu Reeves story. She's amazing." But what mattered most wasn't the fame. It was the effect. Students at other schools began wearing the same black star drawings on their hands, calling it Maya's mark. Teachers played the video in classrooms. Parents shared it with their children. Maya had become more than a story. She had become a symbol. Meanwhile, back at Stonebridge, the atmosphere had changed again. No more teasing, no more whispering. Madison kept her distance, now walking the halls quietly, often alone. But Maya noticed something one afternoon. Madison was sitting in the library, helping a younger student with math. Patiently, kindly. And Maya smiled to herself. Maybe change really was possible. Lucas and Maya continued spending time together. Not because they had to, but because they wanted to. They would walk the schoolyard, share playlists, sketch silly comic characters, and talk about the things they were too scared to talk about before. One afternoon, sitting under their favorite tree, Lucas turned to her. "Can I ask you something?" "Sure. What do you want to be? Like, when you grow up?" Maya thought for a moment. "I used to say invisible. Now, maybe a storyteller." He smiled. "You already are one." She looked down shyly. "What about you?" "A teacher, maybe, or someone who helps people speak when they're scared." "You'd be good at that," she said softly. They didn't say anything for a while, but the silence was perfect. Then one day, everything changed again. Maya came home from school and found her father on the phone, his expression tense, eyebrows low. He ended the call and turned to her. "They're asking us to appear at a live charity event," he said. "For children's mental health, they want us to talk about everything." Maya's stomach turned. "Live? Like, on stage?" He nodded. "We can say no. I'll handle it." But Maya shook her head slowly. "No," she said. "I'll do it." Keanu studied her carefully. "Are you sure?" "Yeah, because maybe there's another Maya out there, sitting in the back of the classroom, hoping someone will speak up." He didn't argue. Instead, he pulled her into a long hug. "You make me proud," he whispered. The night of the event arrived. The theater was packed. Flashing lights, journalists, rows of celebrities and social workers. Maya wore a simple blue dress and held her father's hand tightly. When they walked onto the stage, the room fell silent. Keanu spoke first. "I'm not here tonight as an actor," he began. "I'm here as a father, a quiet one, a learning one, and tonight I'm standing beside someone much braver than I ever was." Then he stepped back. Maya took the mic. Her voice trembled, then steadied. "I spent most of my life thinking that being quiet meant being weak. But I've learned that it can also mean being thoughtful, being strong, being kind. I was bullied, ignored, then suddenly noticed. But not for who I was, only for who I'm connected to. So I had to make a choice, hide or stand up, and I stood, and I'm still standing." The audience watched, eyes shining. "I'm not special because of who my dad is. I'm special because I choose to be kind, even when it's hard." Then she said something that echoed across the internet for days. "I used to want to disappear. Now I just want to help others feel seen." The audience stood up in a wave of applause. After the event, social media exploded. News outlets wrote headlines like, "Keanu's daughter delivers powerful speech on kindness. The voice behind the bird inspires a generation. Maya Reeves speaks. The world listens." But at home, everything was quiet again. Maya sat on the balcony, a blanket around her shoulders, the stars above her. Keanu walked out with 2 mugs of tea. "You changed lives tonight," he said. "I didn't mean to," she replied. "That's what makes it real." They sat side by side, watching the night sky. And for the first time, Maya didn't feel like she was living in someone else's shadow. She felt like she had her own light. But life always has one more surprise waiting. The next morning, a letter arrived in the mail. Inside was a small silver pendant in the shape of a star. No sender, just a note. "Thank you for helping my daughter. She stopped crying after watching your video. I don't know who you really are, but you saved her. A grateful mother." Maya held the pendant in her palm and closed her fingers around it. Not for fame, not for recognition, but because the whisper of kindness had just reached another heart. The voice that reached the world. Sunlight streamed through Maya's bedroom window as birds chirped outside. It was a quiet morning. No cameras, no emails, just peace. She sat at her desk, gently holding the silver star pendant that had arrived in the mysterious letter. She still hadn't stopped thinking about it. The note from the mother. The idea that something she said could bring comfort to a child she'd never met. She didn't need to wonder who she was anymore. She wasn't just his daughter. She was Maya. At school, students now treated her like a human being. Not a mystery, not a headline. Some smiled at her in the hallway. Others gave her space, but with quiet respect. Even Madison had changed one afternoon. As Maya was gathering her things after art class, Madison approached her. There was no smirk this time. Just a girl who had finally removed her mask. "Hey," Madison said, voice quiet. Maya looked up. "I watched the event," she continued. "What you said about kindness. It made me think." Maya didn't speak, just waited. "I was cruel, not just to you, to a lot of people, and I'm sorry." Maya stared at her for a long moment, then gave a slow, gentle nod. "Thank you," she said. It wasn't forgiveness, not fully, but it was a start, and sometimes that's enough. A few weeks later, the short animated film Maya had voiced officially released on a major platform, not just online anymore. Now it played before certain children's movies in theaters. Families watched together. Some children cried, some asked questions, and many left theaters with black stars drawn on their hands. One scene in particular was being shared everywhere. The little bird shivering in the storm, closing its eyes and whispering, "Even when no one sees me, I still matter." Those words, spoken in Maya's soft voice, wrapped themselves around the hearts of millions. Offers began pouring in. Book publishers wanted her to write her story. News programs requested interviews. A clothing brand wanted to create Maya's kindness merchandise. But she turned most of them down, not because she wasn't grateful, but because she knew the truth. Now her voice was a gift, not a brand. Instead, she accepted one quiet opportunity: to speak at local schools. No big productions, just her sketchbook, and her story. She spoke to classrooms filled with quiet kids, bullied kids, and kids who didn't quite fit in. She told them about her pain, her silence, and how kindness had given her strength. She always ended the same way. You don't need a famous parent to be important. You don't need likes or followers. You just need to believe your voice matters, because it does. One afternoon, after finishing a school visit, Maya and Keanu sat at their favorite cafe. A little girl approached, no older than 8, holding a worn notebook. "Hi," the girl said shyly. "You're Maya, right?" Maya smiled. "I am." The girl glanced at Keanu. "And you're John Wick." Keanu laughed softly. "Sometimes." "You helped me," the girl said, turning to Maya. "Your video made me stop being scared to go to school. Now I have a friend. Her name is Lily." Maya's heart swelled. "That's wonderful." "Can I draw a star on your hand?" the girl asked. Maya held it out. The girl drew a tiny black star and marker. "Thank you," she whispered. As she walked away, Keanu leaned closer. "You're changing the world, you know." Maya looked at the star on her hand. "I just want people to feel what I finally feel," she said. "What's that? Like I belong." Months passed. The school year ended with a small ceremony. Maya was awarded a special certificate, not for academics, not for sports, but for positive impact on school culture. Students clapped, teachers teared up. Lucas sat in the front row, his hands sore from clapping too hard, as Maya walked. Off the stage, she spotted Madison sitting quietly in the corner, smiling, not bitterly, not with envy, just proud, and maybe a little changed. Back at home, Keanu brought out a small wrapped box. "What's this?" Maya asked. "Open it." Inside was a blank leather journal, its cover soft and worn-looking, like it had waited years for her hands. On the first page, Keanu had written a short note. "For your words, your voice, your truth. Now fill the rest." Maya held the journal to her chest and smiled. Later that summer, something unexpected arrived. A formal invitation. Maya Reeves had been nominated to receive a Humanitarian Youth Award for her influence on mental health awareness. The event would be held in New York. She would stand beside scientists, teachers, activists, and her name would be called out not because of her father, but because of who she was. On the night of the award ceremony, Maya wore a simple silver dress and the star pendant around her neck. Keanu walked beside her, dressed in black, calm and proud. When her name was announced, the room stood. She stepped onto the stage, lights bright on her face, but her heart steady. "When people first learned who my dad was, they looked at me differently," she began. "But it wasn't until I used my voice that they really saw me. I used to think silence protected me. Now I know. Truth does. I'm not here because of fame. I'm here because of kindness. And if my story helped one child feel less alone, then that's enough." The applause that followed wasn't loud. It was deep, the kind that comes from real understanding. After the ceremony, as Maya stood backstage holding her award, a woman approached with tears in her eyes. "My son tried to hurt himself last year," she said. "He wouldn't talk to anyone, but he watched your video, and now he's here with me, safe. Thank you." Maya's hands shook, not from nerves, but from love. Years would pass. The world would keep spinning. Maya would grow older, wiser. She would write that book. She would help create a global kindness curriculum for schools. She would even direct her own animated short one day. This time, her story told through a little star that never burned out, but she never let go of the girl she once was, the quiet one, the one who walked alone in the hallway, the one no one saw, until she made them listen, and through it all, Keanu stood beside her, not as a shield, but as a father, a quiet one, a proud one, who always believed in the voice the world almost missed.